let's do a secondary take here. Um, yeah. I recorded this already, and then I went ahead and listened to it, and I don't know why, but I must have been real excited because the audio was peaking way too much. So I'm going to try this again, talk at it, go through my notes here. I'm glad I didn't close them. I just had them in a fucking text pad. I definitely would have lost that had I committed. Um, but yeah, what's up? This is a retrospective video. For those of you unfamiliar with my regular content, I do what's called middle-aged maxing. Um, I don't use Reddit because I'm not a child predator. But I know it's a big Reddit meme over there to be like, I have 17 kids and I work 170 hours a week. I can't possibly do XYZ in RuneScape. Please make it easier, whatever, right? And that's kind of the premise of the main series is I'm a father. I'm going through life stuff, right? I have a family, buying and selling houses, work a full-time job, all this shit. It takes up time. It's important stuff. It's more important than RuneScape, I'll tell you that much. And so it leaves like not a lot of time left to do other stuff. I had the luxury of working from home, so I do have like I'm able to sit here and chop redwoods. I mean, you could do that on your mobile phone as well, I suppose, but I'm able to sit here and chop redwoods while I work, but it's not like I'm doing anything else. And I recently got my Inferno cape, and this is fun because I mean, how to say this? I said it so eloquently last recording, and here I am fucking it up now. It took a while, and I think people. I think people think it's a lot harder than it is. I'll be honest. I like for reference, 2 years ago I didn't even have my fire cape. Like Jad made me nervous, and now I have my infernal cape, and I started this maybe 4 months ago. I want to say I had buddies giving me shit too about how I'd sit down and I'd do 20 minutes of Inferno and I'd get to like wave 30 and then I'd be like, "Oh, I died." And then that would be it. That's all I would commit for that week and that's okay, right? But I'd have buddies giving me shit, being like, "You gonna get back in there?" And I'm like, "I'm fucking busy, man. Maybe next week we'll try out a little Inferno." But that's kind of where I'm at, and this is how I kind of slog through it. And I have a whole notepad here of things about how I feel as someone who's genuinely fucking busy, like probably all of you are. I talk about kind of my mindset, where we were, how we got there, what we did, a lot of the things that helped me out, and yeah, we're gonna get you that. I'm gonna take this as like a break point for me. Make sure that my audio doesn't sound like dog shit, and then if it doesn't, we'll continue on. Be right back. All right, and it doesn't sound like dog shit, so we're back. I mean, that was probably a half-second cut for you, but it was a solid minute and a half for me. So let me get some water here, lubricate the mouth, and let's get back into it. So, what's the verdict? Was it hard? Was it difficult? Was it impossible to do? If you're not a high-level community member, if you're not the Adicon, if you're not the gnome monkey, can you get an Infernal Cape? Yes, obviously. Well, next time I bank these redwoods, I'll show you. I have it in the bank. Um, yeah, it's doable. Like I kind of said, it took me 4 months, and I didn't take me 4 months because it was difficult. It took me 4 months because you don't have to rush it. I think two big things keep people from getting their Inferno Cape the most. Or Infernal Cape is one, the stupid fucking stigma that, and I've heard this said in videos unironically before, is that getting the Infernal Cape was the hardest thing I've done in any video game ever in my entire life. And I just gotta stop and be like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, respectfully, this is a clicking simulator from 2005. Okay. The game updates every zero point 0.6 seconds. That's what a tick is. For those of you who aren't like super into the technical stuff, and that's completely fine. You don't even need to know what a tick is to complete the Infernal. I'll explain that later. But like it updates every zero point 0.6 seconds, right? You play something like Dark Souls, right? And that updates 60 times a second, right? 60 frames per second it updates. Like the game in RuneScape processes shit every 0.6 seconds. Like you have plenty of time to react to things. You have plenty of time to do shit. Um, Insinuating that the Inferno is one of the most difficult things to like accomplish is just ridiculous in my mind. And I think it's like I'm not trying to knock it. It's fucking hard. It was difficult. I'm not gonna say that it wasn't, but like when we create this, I hate to say we as a community. I fucking hate that concept. But like, when a bunch of content creators come together and they're like, it is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. It's like, well, what now? How do you expect the rest of the fucking people who play RuneScape to want to try it? You're like, you're literally being like, nope, don't even. It's so hard. It's like dragging my balls through asphalt mixed with glass. It was impossible. Right? It's not that difficult. Okay, it's hard, but it's not that difficult. And the other thing too is I think you see like you see these people like sit down and like stream it for weeks and weeks on end, and they're like, oh man, I hate the Inferno. It's so hard. I just want my cape and all that stuff, right? Um, but I'm convinced, like after doing it, like I'm convinced that that shit is just due to burnout. Like you're in there too long. You are sitting down there streaming 10 hours a day in the same spot. I would want to, swallow glass too. I get it, okay? Like, but I'm telling you, like doing just like even 20 minutes a day on like a simulator or something like that is just enough. It's enough to get someplace. Like there's so much to be said for like getting a good night's sleep um after doing something. Like I don't know if anyone, I'm sure lots of the people who are watching have played instruments before, but you don't sit down and you don't practice for 9 hours in a row, okay? Like you're not built to do that. All right. You practice for like 30 minutes to an hour. Maybe if you do it professionally, a few hours at a time. And then you go to bed, right? You do something else. You let your brain realize what you just did. You let it process, you let it mold it over, you let it chew on it, and then you go back in. It's those two things. This is the hardest thing in the world, and the fact that you have like content creators being like, I'm stuck doing this, and part of it probably is milking for content. But like, do you see these people like stuck in there, quote, stuck in there for weeks, and you're like, dude, I would never want to commit. Are you kidding me? And as a human being, I'm here to tell you that it's not that hard. I promise. And I'll explain what I did to make it less terrible, so to speak. And the first thing is kind of I touched on it already. Is it's like anything in life, it takes practice, right? Um, a incredibly important thing in all life, not just RuneScape, but in all life, is setting goals for yourself and accomplishing those goals. Okay. It doesn't matter what those goals are. Don't give a shit. Set a goal, obtain it, rinse and repeat. It's fulfilling. It helps you with personal growth, teaches willpower, teaches all this shit. And like I said, it can be even RuneScape, right? I saw an Infernal cape. I was sick of the nacho cheese on my back. I said, I'm going to set this goal and I'm going to obtain it. And the important thing is I didn't set a unrealistic time frame. I didn't say I'm going to have it done in a week. Like that's just generating stress for yourself. It's saying, okay, I'm going to set a goal. I'm going to have these things that I'm going to try and do to accomplish them, and we'll get it when we get it, you know? And I'll admit I did get a little obsessive towards the end. I'll talk about that later, but like, I got to Zuck. I got it in 2 Zuck tries, but I got to Zuck and I died because I forgot a stam and I didn't have enough Sarah brews because I wasted a bunch of HP on triples trying to blood barrage off healers. I learned that that's not a good idea. And I didn't know how to run through Jet. Doesn't matter. I got the Zuck and then like I could taste it and I was pissed. I'm like, dude, I was right there. Zuck was at 400 HP and I died on like the last 2 healers. We just got to fucking go get it. And I got a little obsessive, I'll admit. That wasn't good. But for the most part, don't set a time frame. Work on it. Maybe 20 minutes to an hour if you have time. And if you don't, that's fine, right? Like go and like you don't even have to schedule shit out. Just like when you find yourself time, simulator, throw yourself in there, or practice the Zuck fight. Honestly, it's really that easy. There's your proof, by the way. Look at that, beautiful. I'm truly convinced that anyone can do it. I said that I'd talk about like you don't really need to know what ticks are. I like it's helpful. Don't get me wrong. You don't need to know what game ticks are. You don't need to know what esoteric knowledge is. Like you don't need to know why things get corner trapped or why certain things happen away or like what off ticking means or anything like that. But like genuinely, you can go in there and all I did was reacted to when the ranger would bend down on his knee, right? And then I like did everything based off of that. I didn't count ticks, more than maybe like 2 or 3 waves when there was a weird blob ranger stack. I would do that, but like really truthfully you don't even need to. You can learn pretty much everything based off of the animations. I'm not going to sit here and explain it all. That's what guides are for. But truly, like if you're thinking you need to know some esoteric knowledge about how the spaghetti code behind this 2-decade-old game works, you don't like I promise. The other big things though, and I've alluded to it a couple of times now, is holy shit, man, these trainers are so goddamn helpful. Okay. Like this is the Guy Luigi Zuck trainer. Um, you can go in here, put on pretty much whatever equipment that you want. There's high scores to try and beat your personal best and all that stuff. And you just set up and you hop in here. You can set your key bindings and the settings and everything. And then you just practice, right? Zuck is literally move to a safe spot. When you see the ball flying, move to the next safe spot. And then you got to kill a ranger and a major. You got to kill a Jad, and you got to kill healers. But other than that, it's literally I see a ball flying at me, I move to the next safe spot. Very easy. And then once he enrages, you simply just stay behind the shield. Super easy fight, and you get to practice it. Like this is 1-to-1. This is exactly how it functions in the game. Okay, like I said, it's a 2005 clicking simulator. It's not that hard to replicate. There's plenty of simulators out there and all that shit. But, the other one is, of course, Inferno Trainer, right? Same shtick. It looks like an Excel spreadsheet, but it's 1-to-1, okay? You see, this is a hard wave. But like, you see the shit, right? Like, wave 62, okay? I'm going to be dead. That's fine. Yeah, wave 62, right? You can set up how many pillars you want. It gives you a new wave every single time, right? You check here, you set the key bindings and the settings, and it's janky at first, but it works, right? It's a 1-to-1 replica. And this I didn't even know about until just recently. Like I shit you not. This is so funny. Like I got my Inferno cape and then I saw this. So you go to the Coliseum one, right? This has been out for a little bit now. And I'll be practicing with this later. It only lets you practice in max setup, but it's a 3D model. It's pretty much 1-to-1 of the Coliseum fight. And I was in here fucking around with this after I got my Inferno cape, and I saw Zuck Trainer. And so I clicked on that guy. And would you look at this? What do we have here? It's a 1-to-1 replica of the Zuck fight, except it's actually 3D, dude. I fucked around in here in a little bit. It's janky. I think there are some bugs where you can break it. But if you just do the Zuck fight like how you're supposed to in the game, like this is 1-to-1, man. This is perfect. And again, you're practicing in max gear, but you still have the practice. And then I thought to myself, wait, can I do triples in this? So I type in 68 and to start a new wave up here. And lo and behold, yeah, you can do 1-to-1 perfect triples as well here if you are worried and need to practice that. Triples are pretty free, but you can still practice triples just like it's supposed to. But yeah, and then of course you want to do wave 42. Oh, would you look at that? It's a 1-to-1 replica of wave 42. How fucking neat. We'll move over here, throw on melee. Wow, insane, man. Um, yeah, like there's no reason not to use this. That's it's so helpful, man. Like there were times, and I know you motherfuckers out there can sympathize with this, where like I had maybe 20 minutes, or I had a long fucking day, and I did not want to throw myself into the Inferno and like I say risk having it last an hour and a half. But like, what if I did get all the way, right? And I was fucking tired and I didn't want to deal with it. Like maybe like just practice. Go to one of those simulators and like do a Zuck fight or practice waves 60 to 63, right? The hardest like 3 waves in the Inferno. Like practice that or practice triples if you're worried about that. You know what I mean? Like just go practice it. You don't have to spend like 3 hours every single night. Like 10 minutes is enough. If you have no set time that you want to get this done, And again, this don't put it off forever. But if you have no set time, like if you're not trying to get it done by X amount of days, like there's so many resources out there. You have the fucking internet, man. Like use it. I mean, that's what I did. I would sit down and I would practice with the simulators, not the 3D ones, but the other ones which were janky were just as good. Um, I'd practice that. I want to reiterate. I'm making this sound like a lot of work, and I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to illustrate that, you only have to commit like 5 to 20 to 30 minutes a night, like whatever you're comfortable with. Use these resources, use these tools. But I am making it sound like a lot of work. I want to reiterate two things. One, this wasn't done overnight. Like I said, 20 minutes a night, 20 minutes every other night. Just start getting the feel for the content, right? Start practicing things. Like all things in life, it takes practice to get that shit done, okay? Nothing worth doing was ever easy or something like that. I don't know. I don't know my proverbs. And the other thing to reiterate is this was fun. Like I don't mean to make it sound like a job or anything like that, or something that you really have to work to get done. But like, it was fun. I enjoyed it. Um, it is some of the most entertaining content in the game because at least for me, because at the end of the day, it's puzzle solving, right? Like you got to be quick on your feet and you got to solve this puzzle, right? There are 6 different mobs that spawned. They're going to move at you like this. How do you deal with it, buddy? Um, and it was fun putting that together and getting over the hump, right? Like my heart beating at 61, 62, and 63. And once I'm over 63 and 64 and 65, and it starts to cool down, and then you get to the final boss. And honestly, I wasn't even that nervous at Zuck. Like I said, I got it done in 2 Zuck tries because I had practiced the simulator so much. But it was fun. That being said, 1 to 50 are great practice. You need to know how the fundamentals of the Infernal work. It's the whole point. It's a resource management game. You solve these puzzles while using as few resources as possible so that you can get to the final boss and slap him around like he's your bitch. After you've gotten past wave 50, like 20 times, and for those of you wondering, wave 50 is when you get a mage and a ranger for the first time. It's called the wave 50 ramp up. It's when things actually get kind of difficult and interesting. Once you get to wave 50, like maybe 10 to 20 times, that 1 to 50 is such a fucking slog afterwards. And again, I get it. It is a resource management game, but holy fuck, man. My first cape took like an hour and 47 minutes. We can PB that real quick, or maybe I still have it up from last time I recorded. Yeah, last time I recorded earlier there. 147, 45, and a game tick. The 45 minutes of that was 1 to 50. And if you have no frame of reference, that's kind of fast for a first cave. Because I was playing it so fucking fast and loose, dude. Like I was so sick of waves 1 to 50 by the time I finished the damn thing. I yeah, couldn't hack it. It did become a slog towards the end. That being said, use the logout feature, man. You go into click logout here, and then it gives you a little message in the game box that says, all right, your Inferno will be paused after you finish this wave. Click the logout button again to log out immediately, but you will have to repeat the wave. I cannot tell you how many times like I'd get like 25 waves in or something, and then the kid would cry, and I'd be like, well, not doing the Inferno anymore. And I'd log out, and I would disappear for an hour, and then I would come back an hour later and just resume what I was doing. The only caveat to that really is if you leave shit on the ground, it disappears. I've lost my restore to that once. Like I feel like people think I feel like people think you have to sit down and do that hour and 47 minutes or that 2.5 hours or whatever it is for your first game all in one sitting. You don't. I got to wave 50 and then I went to my father-in-law. I went to see my father-in-law. We went to the campground and we fished for an hour and a half. And then I came back and did it after everyone went to bed. Like there was a very clear like 3-hour break in between me doing waves 1 to 50 and me doing the rest of the fucking Inferno. It doesn't have to be one sitting. Like use the logout feature. Another thing, an unstable connection can fuck you. I live in the middle of fucking nowhere, and I know that there are a lot of people who do that as well. If you watched my video, which I release every week, Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you watched that video, you saw the first like 3 clips were me disconnecting and getting stacked out. That can happen. There's no accounting for leg spikes, but just so you know, like towards the later waves, like if you have a spotty connection, it will fuck you. And the final thing I want to talk about is getting obsessive. I said that I got obsessive towards the end, and that's because I got to Zuck and I was thirsty. I could taste it on my fucking tongue. I was ready for that Inferno Cape, and so I kind of got really obsessive the last couple of days or last week. But it, the spirit of it is still the same. I spent 4 months, like maybe practicing once a week for the first couple of weeks, and then eventually started doing the simulators, and I got there. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be in a damn hurry. You don't need to obsess over it. It's just, I feel like so many people are like, it's the hardest fucking thing I've ever done. Combined with you seeing all these streamers and shit being like, I've been stuck here for 3 weeks. It's like, dude, like, take a beat, breathe, practice when you can, send it when you can, Use the logout feature. It's not that intense, man. It's a left click simulator from the early 2000s. You will get it done. If any of you are still doubting or worried or like I don't have the fucking time to do this, I promise you can get it done, you know. And it really is a good achievement. I did really really rough napkin math on this, but depending on what site and what source you get, there's roughly like 3 million, 3.5 million active old school RuneScape players a month or something like that. Jagex mods have said it's like less than 5% that are actually bots or whatever. And then you look at the wiki and you see that 86,000 right now Infernal Capes are in the game. You got to assume that, again, rough napkin math, depending on whose numbers you take, 50 to 70% are either duplicates from alt accounts of individuals or they've been purchased. You look at that and you run the, again, third time, last time I'll say it, real quick napkin math here. That's like something 1 to 3% of people accomplish, 1 to 5% of people accomplish in the game. And it's a great goal. I'm super fucking happy about it. I mean, next I guess is probably Quiver and then Blorva and whatever the fuck they come out with. It's important to set these goals, and I feel really proud to have done it. And I'm here with living proof. I mean, if there's some of you that have watched my shit since I got my spooned by Tumakin's Shadow last year, like that I talked about getting an Inferno Cape a year ago, and it's taken this long, and it's fine. It's okay to take that long, dude. If you're busy, you're busy, right? RuneScape should not be your number one priority, and that's okay. So that's pretty much all I got. I'm sure this was very rambly. I don't care. I like it. I hope it helps someone. um, yeah, I really truly believe that literally anyone can possibly do this. It just takes a little bit of time. You know what I mean? But there you go. Likes, comments, yeah, especially in the comments down below. I know that there are people out there. You've reached out to me. I've made it known my homeworld is 429. You have reached out to me and been like, I have an Inferno Cape, and I also have 17 children. Here's what I did. Let me know if you need help. Blah blah blah. You've reached out to me, and I've heard you. Put that advice you gave me into the fucking comments down below, right? People aren't going to click on this video because they know how to do the Inferno. They're going to click on it because they have 18 children and work 190 hours a week and whatnot. And so if you've got advice, huck it down in the comments below. Everyone's different. I'm sure whatever you've got to say is helpful to someone. Yeah, likes, comments, and subscribes. Love y'all. Bye.